are back in from the break here on In My Own Words, the podcast, Touchdown Alabama Magazine's own Stephen M. Smith. We'll get into the college football playoff rankings as those dropped last night via ESPN, along with the topic that was scheduled for this particular segment before we took the break, discussing Devin White, Alabama sophomore linebacker Devin White, and his comments in terms of what does LSU need to do this week in order to beat Alabama up. I don't understand why in my writings was I referring to him as Kevin White. Guy's name is Devin White. I guess I had K instead of D on the brain, but you know what? Guy's name is Devin White. So that's how that fits in there. But the college football playoff rankings, this is interesting because I watched it last night, and Georgia number 1, Alabama number 2, Notre Dame, number 3, and Clemson number 4. Ohio State and Oklahoma both from the outside looking in. Oklahoma 5, Ohio State 6. At the first initial glance of this, I was not disappointed at all. Georgia, the much better resume at this point. The win against Notre Dame was a huge win, 20-19 on the road at South Bend inside of Touchdown Jesus. You got the 20-19 win at Georgia. And Notre Dame, that team that did not just tank after losing to Georgia, they were able to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and continue to win football games, not do what Florida State did and just tanked. I get it. Florida State, without DeAndre Francois, it changes your whole makeup, your whole complexity, your whole mechanism. But with that Florida State defense everybody talked about all offseason with guys like Derwin James and Tavares McFadden and Jacob Pugh and Derek Nadee and Brian Burns, you just didn't expect Florida State to just tank, and they tanked, versus Notre Dame that continues to win. So understanding why the committee went with Georgia over Alabama for the number 1 seed, but still, the purpose remains simple. Alabama continues to win. They'll make it into the college football playoff. Nick Saban, can we just finally get to the conclusion that Nick Saban does not like questions about college football playoff rankings? He doesn't like questions about polls, etc. They are not the standard to him. They are not epic to him. They are not the main source of his being to him. Every time a question gets asked or proposed about a poll, he literally goes from being a happy guy trying to smile to being the most infuriated person in the room. The only thing that Alabama fans, but most importantly, Nick Saban and this coaching staff is concerned about, winning games, getting to the Southeastern Conference Championship game, winning that, and taking it one step at a time. Doesn't matter if you're 1, 2, 3, or 4. The purpose is just get in. I understand the Alabama fans that just came into the fold where Nick Saban comes into play. I get it. You want to be 1 or 2 so that you can go to New Orleans. New Orleans, a 5-hour drive from Tuscaloosa, or a 5-hour drive, or a 5 to 6 hour drive. It's not a far drive from Alabama is what I'm trying to say. More so people will travel to New Orleans versus taking a plane, going to Pasadena, California to the Rose Bowl for a semifinal game. But check this out here. The real diehard Alabama fans, the ones that bleed that crimson and white, do not care where the semifinal game is. They'll drive to New Orleans. They'll take a plane to Pasadena, California. By the way, who would not like being in Pasadena, California for a semifinal game? Palm trees, water, sunshine, beautiful women. Who would not want to be in Pasadena, California at the Rose Bowl for a semifinal game? This is where the Nick Saban dynasty at Alabama, or Nick Saban unprecedented run at Alabama, started. In Pasadena, with the crimson-colored Gatorade shower against Texas in the 2010 BCS national title game of the 2009 season. The dynasty started in Pasadena, California. The run of championships started on the West Coast. So, the diehard Bama fans don't really care. They'll go and borrow money from the bank just to get a ticket to Pasadena. They'll go and take some money out of the kids' college fund to go to Pasadena, California. The real diehard Bama fans really don't care where Alabama is in relation to being 1, 2, 3, or 4. Just be in the top 4, because we know if you are in the top 4, you in the big dance. You're not on the outside looking in. You are in the big dance. And that's what Nick Saban is trying to convey to a lot of the Alabama media and national media. Polls do not concern him. This is why he keeps going with the hashtag rat poison. This is why the players have zoned in to the hashtag, and some of them have even quoted the college football playoff rankings with hashtag rat poison. They're trying to win one game at a time. But Georgia 1, Alabama 2, Notre Dame 3, Clemson 4. Was I surprised? No. I was not surprised at all. If anything, I am somewhat joyful. Because once again, you don't really see the real Alabama come out until it gets poked. It's like you can talk all the good about Alabama and then they start to slack off and not play as hard. But as soon as you come at them, as soon as you dog them out, here comes the real Bama. It's crazy, ain't it? You talk all the good and they slack up. But as soon as you start dogging them and poking them, here they come. It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing. But here they come. Remembering the Florida State president, John Thrasher, talked about it. We're not just going to beat Alabama. We're going to beat them badly. What happens to Florida State? They not only lose the game, they lose their quarterback, and they're losing their season. They're 2-5. 2-5 are the Seminoles. And this was supposed to have been a playoff team by the standards of a lot of people in national media. But they're 2-5. Then you had the guy by the name of Nafai Lealo of Vanderbilt, who has no bass in his voice whatsoever, talking about, you come to Vanderbilt, we'll show you how to play some SEC ball. This is how we play. Bama, you're next. First off, get some bass in your voice, man. Second off, yes, Bama was next on the schedule. You completely got Bama because you got pancaked by the backups on Alabama's offensive line, and you lost 59-0. 59-0. And then you had Ole Miss that has their form of sneak dissing. They're not going to talk, but they're going to tweet out pictures from 2 years ago where Ole Miss beat Alabama and Bryant-Denny with Chad Kelly. Alabama doesn't take picture dissing too well either. Shea Patterson running for his life. Alabama won that game 66-3. And then, oh, goody, the Tennessee guy who had the pick six, 2 middle fingers to an Alabama fan. Alabama comes out there, beats Tennessee 45-7. When you poke at Alabama, for some reason, that is what gets them going. Not when you talk good about them, but when you come at them, that's what gets them going. Transitioning from that to the poking session, LSU linebacker Devin White. And he had his media viewing period earlier this week. And when you really hear what he had to say, I don't really know if you can take this as bulletin board material. Let's just be honest. As the kids say, keep this thing 100, keep this thing 1,000 with me. I really don't think you can call this bulletin board material. With the way he said it, you can't count what he said as bulletin board material, but when people hear the words beat up Alabama in the same sentence, they're going to run with it how they're going to run with it to get the page clicks. But you really can't state this is bulletin board material. Devin White fully understands Alabama has not lost to LSU in 6 years, in 6 times. 6 straight times for that being. The last time LSU beat Alabama, the 2011 regular season game of the century, 9-6. From the 2012 BCS National Championship game off the 2011 season, Alabama has won 6 straight times. Since coming to coach the Crimson Tide in 2007, Nick Saban 8-3 all time against LSU as Alabama's coach. He's 8-3. Unless you have a secret weapon that nobody knows about, unless you have a secret weapon offensively and defensively that Alabama does not know that's on the roster, first off, Alabama knows every player on LSU's roster. The Tide knows LSU has Danny Etling, Darius Guice, Darrell Williams, Russell Gage, DJ Chark. They know. They know. So unless you've got a secret weapon that you've just inserted into your offense this week that Nick Saban has no idea about, no idea, it would be best for you, Devin White, if you would have just said nothing. Just said nothing. Or keep it close to the vest with something like, look, okay, we're improving. They're a good team. Should be fun. Should be a great atmosphere. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a well-played game. When you say something like that, then national media can't take that and run with it. They can't, because it's a general statement. It's called keeping it close to the vest. They can't take that and run with it and make it a page clickbait view upon, because it's a general statement. But when you go out there and say this, well, Alabama's like the big brother that always beats up on you, is always bigger, is always stronger, is always more physical. You can never beat up on them. But now we're bigger, we're better, we're faster, we're stronger, and I think now is our time to beat up on Alabama. The moment you say that, even though you did not mean it in any essence of the context to where it's being portrayed, because you said it, now the media is on a frenzy putting this story in a way that Nick Saban looks at it and he takes the smallest ticky-tack of a comment that's not worth a hill of beam and he uses it as the biggest form of motivation to his football team. Devin White's not even meaning for this to be trash talk. He's probably not even meaning for this to be bulletin board material. But because he said it and because how it's being phrased and written, Nick Saban has got his team lapping like dogs ready to take out LSU. And on top of that, this morning, Alabama defensive end Isaiah Boggs, who is a native of Ruston, Louisiana. Yes, he went to college at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College prior to coming to Alabama, but he is a native of Ruston, Louisiana kid. He wakes up this morning to some very, very nasty messages from Louisiana residents, from LSU fans. This does even more because now Isaiah Boggs is going to be wired up to play. I mean, he was already wired up to play from the get-go, and not just him. Basically, all 6 LSU or all 6 Louisiana natives on the Alabama roster. When you look at Isaiah Boggs, Cam Sims, Dylan Moses, Chris Allen, Devonta Smith, so on and so forth. Also, Shyheim Carter, throw him in there as he's from Kentwood, Louisiana. There are 6 Louisiana players. How could I forget Hootie Jones? Put him in there too. There are quite a few Louisiana players on this roster. They were already wired enough for this game, seeing how it is a rivalry game and it is a big moment as far as recruiting is concerned. But now with the nasty messages that Isaiah Buggs has received, make this 0 to 100 real quick. And then with the college football committee putting Alabama at number 2, so you got the college football committee putting Bama at number 2. You have the comments that were made by Devin White, whether it be bulletin board or not. Receive that, take that at your own peril. And then the nasty messages to Isaiah Buggs. If you're LSU, holy cow. The most ticky-tacked of comments. Nick Saban takes those and has his guys fully motivated to play football. And then with the messages Isaiah Buggs has received, you could probably expect a 15-tackle performance with like 2 sacks from him. And I get it. From Ed Orgeron's end, you want to keep all the in-state talent in-state. You're trying to prevent all the 4- and 5-star kids from going to Alabama. Since Saban's arrival to the Crimson Tide in 2007, Alabama has been able to go down to the Bayou and snatch all of its prime marquee talent. When you talk Eddie Lacy, Kenny Bell, Landon Collins, Tim Williams, Hootie Jones, Cam Sims, Cam Robinson, Bradley Silve, Devonta Smith, the list goes on. Chris Allen, and also Dylan Moses. Alabama has gone down to the Bayou time and time and time and time and time again and has snatched and plucked and taken the best talent, the big names, the marquee guys away from Louisiana. And you really can't blame them. As much as you love what Coach O may try to sell you, you look at Nick Saban. First off, you come to Alabama, you know you're getting an education, so mama's already happy. Mama is sold. You getting a degree? Sold. You come to Alabama, you're getting the education. Then after that, you're going to a team that is consistently winning, championships, is consistently competing to win said championships. Then the coach is not only doing that, he's preparing you for an opportunity to start, whether you start right away or you start later on in your career. At some point, you're going to start. And then on top of that, he builds you to the point where you can secure the bag, you can secure the money, go to the NFL and feed the block. Who is not going to go to Nick Saban when he's doing all that? You're getting the education. You're playing, whether you're starting or whether you're working to become a starter. You're winning games. You're winning championships. You're consistently in the competition to win championships. Oh, and by the way, one call from Saban, you're securing the bag. You're going to the NFL, and you're feeding the block. As much as Coach O can give you the speech of stay at home, play for your home school, when you're looking at what Nick Saban's providing, you're going to Saban. And the only way Orgeron can prevent this from happening, you got to start winning this rivalry, and it starts this week. Easier said than done, but you got to start winning this rivalry. At least make it tough on the Louisiana kids to leave. You don't have to win every matchup, every game of this rivalry, but at least keep it competitive. At least Bama win 1, LSU win 1. Bama win 2, LSU win 2. Bama win 3, LSU wins a couple. At least win some. To the point where you have these Louisiana kids thinking, Bama, but LSU's winning. Bama, but LSU's winning too. You want to create some conflict, some positive conflict. Right now, there is no positive conflict. because Louisiana kids see I can play for a man that I can only understand every fifth word that comes out of his mouth, and I need a Google translator or Nick Saban. I'll take Nick Saban for $3,000, Alex. I'm going to play for Nick Saban. Why? He's consistently winning. He's consistently winning games, winning championships, putting players into the NFL, and you're getting the education all at the same time. Edo has got to start winning this rivalry. But to end all be all on Devin White's comments, don't think it was meant as bulletin board material. I really don't. Especially with the way he framed it. But when you discuss Alabama, you really have got to choose your words wisely, son, because the national media will take that story and run with it. And even though it was not the way you intended for it to be, when you use the words, it's time for us to beat up on Alabama, Nick Saban takes those words, how small they may be, and form the biggest motivational tool. Basically, Nick Saban will take your own AK-47 and shoot you with it. Nick Saban will take your own gun and shoot you with it. With the words that have been stated by Devin White. And with the comments made or the messages that Isaiah Buggs woke up to this morning from the Louisiana residents, LSU fans, I mean, this could be a game where he can be really, really, really turning it on. We're just going to have to see. Ladies and gentlemen, that takes us to our final break here on In My Own Words, the podcast. When we return, we dive into what does LSU really need to do to win this game. We'll break down 5 keys. Not 5 keys, excuse me. We'll look at 5 players. We'll look at 5 impact players for the LSU Tigers. What do these guys have to do, or what impact do they have to make to give LSU a chance to possibly pull off an upset at Bryant-Denny Stadium this weekend? Don't touch that dial, folks. You're listening to In My Own Words, brought to you by Touchdown Alabama Magazine and Bama Sports Radio. We'll be back.